What is something people disregard about women's mental health?
Blaming it on hormones or is a biggie.
How much forced masking women do to appear friendly, nice.
Crying, a lot of people see it as something done on purpose to gain sympathy.
Ignoring the amount of influence from the free-floating trauma inherent in a capitalist patriarchal system. Minimizing women's mental health challenges because women's suicide attempts are less often fatal. Blaming general mental health issues on women's hormones and monthly cycle. Ignoring the impact of the increased mental and emotional load for working women who are raising children or managing a household without significant support or assistance from their partners. Ignoring or minimizing the additional social constraints for proper behavior that women face that are a source of anxiety for many and that unduly burden women who are neurodiverse.
How utterly draining it is to take care of others. I care for my kids because it's in my nature to. Every fiber of my being is screaming at me to nurture them. It's exhausting at times, but it's natural and fulfilling for me to care for them, and I love everyone else. Make your own sandwiches.
That women need to control their emotions when it's the time of the month and downplaying the effects of reproductive problems, especially PCOS.
I think a lot of men are under the impression that everyone falls over themselves to help women when they're experiencing mental health issues. I really don't know where this is coming from. When I was experiencing mental health issues, I was told I was overreacting, probably PMSing and looking for attention.
How underdiagnosed girls and women are. With many of us have learned how to mask to appease societal norms, but we've had to suffer with a misdiagnosis or no diagnosis at all.
What is something people actually regard about women's mental health?
That women are supposedly allowed to cry and show emotion when we are also called hysterical and irrational for doing so.
It's so irrelevant to the person experiencing it. My period significantly exacerbates a lot of the negative mood symptoms I already experience with a few different diagnoses, and that being at play doesn't make it any less.
TW. How many women have been sexually harassed, had people try to coerce or manipulate them into, threaten to them, have been sexually assaulted, or violence is really common. Even if it doesn't happen to you, the fear that it could and the constant having to being on guard take a toll.
Yes, I can't count how many times I've been upset about something and a guy will follow up with, "Are you getting your period?" Like, no, I'm upset because you did XYZ or something happened, not because I'm about to get my period. I've never been emotional because of my period. Or manipulators.
I've found over the years that my overall health is, just since being diagnosed with anxiety, depression and OCD almost 10 years ago now, that is basically what all my symptoms are tied back to. Especially because I also have been diagnosed with somatic symptom disorder, which is just the newer term for being a hypochondriac. So on the one hand it's like, yes, anxiety you're up, and I rationally know I'm not dying of cancer every day. On the other, it just feels like another tool used against me to minimize how I'm feeling in all areas. And I can't trust myself to know if it's actually a concern, but I also can't really trust a lot of healthcare providers since they are dismissive in general. Plus, since these diagnoses, I still feel crappy. Mentally and physically I often don't feel well. But I'm also not actively looking to harm myself, so it's like no one cares.
How dehumanizing it is to be sexualized in nearly every facet of our lives. Men often believe that it's flattering to be perceived as attractive and beautiful, no matter the context. But that's because they see it as alluring and arousing from their POV and not as humiliating and degrading from our POV. How our cycle actually affects us significantly, and why it's not a matter of just dealing with how the conditioning of men, from intergenerational abuse, misogyny, patriarchy, destroys the emotional well-being of women on so many levels. So many men are conditioned to lie at a young age, mask their emotions, disregard everything in pursuit of their pleasures, etc., that it is so hard as a woman to put our faith in relationships with men. I miss who I was even just a year ago when I hadn't known just how far the deception, the constant hypervigilance and fear that you will die at the hands of someone you love, abusive partner, or parent, or friend, or
Person A. Can you go away? Person B. Why? Are you hiding something? Person A. No, I'm about to cry. Person B. OMG weary cat, you're such an attention seeker. Like if somebody's crying alone, that means they're hiding from attention. Like what?
How uncomfortable it is to exist everywhere we go. No matter where I am or what I'm wearing, men are constantly looking at me and checking me out. I could wear sweats, sneakers and a jacket, but it doesn't matter because men will force their physical proximity closer to me to get a look at my face. I could be standing on the subway platform with 7 feet all around me and they will walk right up and purposely stand less than a foot from me just to be physically close. It's exhausting.
I can't get a doctor to pay attention to my high blood pressure. My male family members are given preventative medicine just based on family risk. I have significantly high blood pressure when I visit doctors and they just say it's nothing to worry about.
While postpartum depression is getting a bit more attention and care than before, there is not much being done for other perinatal mood disorders. In cases where someone is still pregnant, it gets dismissed as, haha, crazy hormonal pregnant lady. For example, I developed what was probably perinatal OCD while pregnant and had very obsessive recurring thoughts that I was going to seriously hurt the baby. There was relentless mental images of shaking, stabbing, throwing, dropping, etc. a child who was not even born yet. While to some degree, hormones obviously played a part, it was still incredibly difficult and distressing. Thankfully, this actually cleared up very quickly after childbirth. Despite going to prenatal appointments super frequently, I was not asked about mental health until 6 weeks after delivery.
There is a significant amount of baked-in sexism and misogyny in the socio-cultural environment and legal systems for many cultures. In my opinion, any woman growing up in that environment and subject to that systemic sexist environment is negatively influenced by it even if she is unaware of it. In my opinion, the mental health profession doesn't pay enough attention to how the systemic experiences of women in specific situations is both formative and harmful.
I remember I was in a bad mood that week BC of things going on at home. Like I had a slight attitude and gave short answers because I honestly didn't feel like saying anything. So my guy friend asked me, "What's been going on with you lately? Is it that time of the month?" I was raging and couldn't even tell if he was kidding. But he looked serious with a straight face. Joking or not, that's up.
I think a lot of guys do try to be aware that periods are hard and that technically yes it can affect our feelings and moods. BC hormone changes, but it doesn't change the fact that it's belittling.
Spot on. Sexualized, degraded, humiliated, lied to and destroyed on so many levels. Also men can see T&A and freely over body parts and a pretty face. The fact that this is not only normalized but also encouraged is beyond me. But dare speak against it and you are overly sensitive, or hormonal. SMH.
You made all the points I was too tired to word properly.
Next time that happens, tell the doctor you would like it written down on your chart or profile that they are refusing to give you the medicine despite your symptoms. Most of the time they get uncomfortable and panic cause that means if anything happens to you it can be proved that they denied you care and you or your family can sue them. The one time I tried this the doctor actually took me seriously after and treated my issue.
Or to manipulate. Why do you demonize an entire gender? Well, women have good reason to fear men.
I know many women who've grown up with traumatic childhood experiences or have been through traumatic events as adults, and PTSD is never considered. Instead their counselors are downright determined they have anxiety or depression, which yes are symptoms of PTSD, and are only treating the symptoms instead of the trauma.
That brown, black and Asian women also suffer from mental issues as well. It's not just because we are spicy, angry, or stressed from studying.
The mental load is never taken into account. If the woman is the sole provider in the family and the husband is a useless leech who reads Twitter all day, it all falls on her to make appointments, clean and cook, do the homework, put the kids to bed, make sure everyone's got clean clothes for the morning, as well as making sure she looks presentable and doesn't fall behind on her white-collar work duties. Meaning she is still looking at 4 to 7 hours of work every night after getting back. She must never snap. She can't let herself go. She must always remain well-groomed, cheerful, and positive. Forbid she harm herself because she's so burnt out after years of this. Oh, and the judgment she will contend with should she pour herself a second glass of wine or go out for a smoke once the family are in bed. If she dare take off by herself for a mini break, or a writing retreat, she's an abject failure. A cuckoo mother.
I think it's literally just that more women are open about it and seek out the appropriate language to express it. So they see more women than men posting, "I am depressed," on Facebook, and thus getting whatever half-assed platitudes people respond with in those situations. Not realizing that Aunt Sue commenting, "Loudly crying thoughts and prayers Zoxo PS Uncle Jim is in the hospital with hemorrhoids," isn't exactly helping and sympathizing, so much as barely.